Jealous twins against their own mother, or a jealous mother against her own twins? Y'all, Jarmeka Nikki Whitehead brought her twin daughters who had been estranged from her back into her home at 17, trying to, start a new beginning. And it ended up being her tragic end. Now, every story has been told, but this true story goes like this. Nikki Whitehead, her real name is Jarmeka Whitehead, beautiful woman, y'all, decided that she wanted to bring her daughters back into her life. Now, the reason why her daughters, Jazz and Taz, were out of her life was because Nikki was trying to get her own life together. She was actually born to a woman in prison. So her mother, beautiful Nikki's mother, was had her while she was in prison. So early on, Nikki was trying to, get her life together. She was trying to make things work. And as a result, things weren't as smooth with her twins. Look at that. They are so cute together, all three of them, honey. But when you hear this story, it'll make you wonder. So, went through some tragedy. Things didn't really work out Nikki's way. And so the children were placed in the grandmother's care. So they had grew up with the grandmother. But when the girls became 17, Nikki said, "Look, I want my babies home. It's time for my babies to be home. It's time for you to come home." Now, they necessarily did not want to come home. There was a lot of things that were going on, and they had their own friends in their own way, but Nikki did not want to hear that. And all this is based in Georgia, Conyers. As a matter of fact, or Conyers, Georgia. When this happened, which was in 2010, when she said the girls need to come back to me, and took them away from the grandmother, she was trying to establish a sense of discipline because the girls were kind of out of control. So now it's 2010, the girls come back. The Nikki made sure she put them in all different programs. They were in dance. They were in a lot of athletic programs to make sure they have something to do. She understood that we don't need to be having these girls just out doing anything. We need to make sure that they actually have business. So now they're actually excelling. Like they're doing good. This is Nikki again, a beautiful woman, beautiful girls too. They were actually excelling, straight A's and all of that. Everything was going good. But as teenagers, this was a strained mother and daughter relationship because as teenagers, Taz and Jazz rebelled against Nikki. They said that she was strict. There were conflicts that escalated when Nikki took away Taz's phone and imposed rules. They beautiful girls. You got to make sure you keep an eye on them. So there were issues came with that. The twins resented their mother and expressed a desire to live with their great grandmother. They wanted to go back with her, probably because they are spoiled and had more control over the great grandmother. Okay, whereas the mother is time enough for them. And there were several incidents where the twins were actually violent against their mother. There were several incidents. And so it was no surprise when in early 2010, the girls came running out of the house. They came running out of the house. And this picture is horrifying, but I want y'all to see what we're talking about. And the neighbors are like, "What is happening? What's going on?" And they said, "Something is going on with our mother. She's in the tub." And they came in the tub, and it was blood all in the tub. And their mother had been 80 times. So this was a very violent situation. This was not a situation where, we can say, "Oh, something happened and it wasn't that detailed." Like usually, if it's a robbery, like the girls were trying to say, then it wouldn't have been as violent as it was. So the investigation began. And when the investigation began, they found surveillance footage that implicated the twins. Okay. They saw the fact that they were the only ones that went in, and Nikki, and nobody else came out. And they looked at other surveillance footage that the girls didn't know they had. As a matter of fact, Nikki had this relationship was so volatile between the girls and their mother that they were even able to pull up a case where Nikki had bitten one of the twins during the attack, leaving a mark that matched her dental records. So the girls were trying to say that they weren't involved in this slaughtering or this tragedy in the tub, and then we find out that that is definitely not the case. Now, for a while, the twins was like, no, this didn't happen. As a matter of fact, they weren't arrested until like 4 months later when they started really looking at the case, and they had charged them with aggravated assault and felony unaliving. That's what they were charged with in the beginning: assault and felony unaliving. Okay, the girls kept saying it wasn't us, it wasn't us, it wasn't us, until they found their journals. In their journals, they actually talked about what they wanted to do for this incident. It was detailed. They went into how they wanted it to be done, and it was actually very horrifying for your own children to want to do this to you. So finally, the girls confess, and as one of the issues or ways that they confessed, or the agreement rather, was that they would get 30 years, and that they would be and that it would be reduced to voluntary manslaughter. So that's how they ended up taking the deal, because there was so much information in the journal that was, locking them in, and they could not lie about it anymore. So when they started going in on this case, psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Barber noted the rarity of girls who tend to want to unalive their mother. And that's what I want to talk about right here, because they didn't provide a lot of information, but it makes me start to think that there was way more going on than we know of. First of all, these are beautiful young girls, and I want to hear what you guys have to say too. Just real quickly, let me introduce myself. I'm T Styles. I have been writing for over 20 years, investigating and researching psychological dramas like this. I have been recognized by the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences for my screenwriting. So the Oscars people, I have went to the highest level of their competitions, and I have written over 106 books. Please take a look at my link in my bio, and you'll be able to see some of my work. But when I think about what kind of women, if I'm writing from this standpoint, what kind of girls would want to do this to their own mother, I would say several things. Number one, they were beautiful girls who had their own way, probably at their great grandmother's house. They was given the world by men. I'm sure they probably both had boyfriends who came to visit them and see them, and liked the freedom of having access to them. To be now told that you are not, in fact, adults, you are not grown by a woman who you really don't respect, because in your way she hasn't been in your life the way you wanted her to be. I can see how this would happen. I can see, if I'm writing these girls, that's what I would be writing. Girls who have their way with their great grandmother, and now don't want this woman coming in and telling me, you can't do this, that, and the third. She's doing it because she sees that you're going down the same road that she was going down, because she had them young. But also, the great grandmother probably couldn't handle them anymore. And because they lost that connection that you have early on with a mother, and when a mother and child bonds, that is no longer there. They're looking at her like she's just another person, y'all. She's just another person in the streets. As I mentioned before, I'm a full-time writer and novelist. I have written many novels about psychological dramas. I always ask myself, when I run into a situation like this, could I see writing this or turning this into a movie or a TV show? I'm sorry, or a book. And the answer would be yes, because I like to write from the anti-hero standpoint. I don't want it to be just a beautiful person without flaws. Whenever I'm writing, my most beautiful characters have a flaw. What went on into these girls' minds? I will delve into that into my book. And as a result, these will be the villains, or antagonists as we call them. And Nikki would be the hero or the protagonist. And I would show her lifestyle before making a decision to have her daughters leaving her and living with the great grandmother, and what that looked like when she brought them back. And I will make it a psychological drama. I absolutely believe that there is depth toward this. When I looked up to find out where they are now, so since they have been incarcerated, Jazz has graduated. Jazz has graduated from high school as a valedictorian. And despite their actions, their great grandmother expressed pride in their accomplishment because they're pretty much trying to stay out the way. They're trying to make sure they don't do anything that's going to run into conflicts with them getting out. So my question is, have you heard this story? What do you think about what do you think the kind of women that would have to be made to in order to do this against your own mother? I really want to hear what you say in the comments. Please make sure you follow me. Check out my book list below if you like urban fiction with psychological standpoints. If I might make a suggestion, it will be this book, the oh my goodness, Silence of the Nine.